Teachers mock black boy with a violin, they freeze when he starts playing like a prodigy. The auditorium smelled of old wood and faint mildew, a place where dreams were either born or buried. Malik Carter, a 14-year-old black boy with a lanky frame and eyes that held too much for his age, stood on the creaking stage. His violin, scratched but polished, rested against his shoulder. The instrument was his mother's, a gift she'd given him before cancer stole her away 2 years ago. It was his anchor, his voice, his rebellion against a world that often looked at him and saw only trouble. The teachers sat in the front row, their faces a gallery of skepticism. Mrs. Hargrove, the music director, whispered to Mr. Daniels, the history teacher, her lips curling into a smirk. "A violin? Really? This isn't the place for that kind of music," she said, her voice low but loud enough for Malik to hear. The words stung like a slap, but he'd heard worse. Growing up in a small town where he was one of the few black kids, Malik was used to the sideways glances, the assumptions that he'd be better at basketball than Bach. The talent show auditions were supposed to be his chance to prove them wrong. He'd practiced for months, his fingers calloused, his heart poured into every note. But as he tuned his violin, the whispers grew. Mr. Daniels leaned back, arms crossed. "I bet he's just here to make a scene," he muttered. A few students in the back giggled, their laughter sharp and cruel. Malik's grip on the bow tightened. He wanted to run, to hide, but his mother's voice echoed in his mind. "Play, baby, play for you." The tension snapped when Mrs. Hargrove stood, her clipboard clutched like a shield. "Malik, this is a serious audition. If you're not prepared, we can move on to the next act." Her tone was ice, her implication clear. He didn't belong. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Malik's heart pounded, but something inside him shifted. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore, was fighting for every kid who'd been told they weren't enough. He raised his bow, and the first note sliced through the silence like a blade. It was Vivaldi's Winter, fierce and haunting, each stroke of the bow a cry of defiance. The teachers froze, their smirks fading. Malik's fingers danced across the strings, his body swaying as if possessed. The music wasn't just sound, it was rage, grief, and hope woven together. The auditorium, once cold and hostile, seemed to hold its breath. Halfway through, a new figure slipped into the room. Ms. Elena Ruiz, the school's janitor, stood by the door, her mop forgotten. She was a quiet woman, rarely noticed, but her eyes locked on Malik with a knowing intensity. She'd seen him practicing in the empty music room after hours, when everyone else had gone home. She knew what he carried. As Malik's performance reached its climax, the notes soared, raw and electrifying. The final chord hung in the air, and for a moment, no one moved. Then Ms. Ruiz clapped, her hands rough from years of work, breaking the spell. A few students joined in, then more, until the room erupted. Mrs. Hargrove's face was a mask of shock, her clipboard limp in her hands. Mr. Daniels stared at the floor, his jaw tight. Malik lowered his violin, his chest heaving. He looked at the teachers, not with triumph, but with quiet resolve. "I'm not what you think," he said, his voice steady. "I never was." The auditions ended, but the story didn't. Word of Malik's performance spread, and by the next day, a video of it filmed by a student had gone viral on X. The comments were a battlefield. Some praised Malik's talent, others hurled slurs or questioned why he'd chosen a white instrument. The school was forced to respond, issuing a vague statement about diversity and inclusion. But behind closed doors, the tension simmered. Mrs. Hargrove called Malik to her office a week later. He braced for another lecture, but instead, She looked tired, her usual sharpness dulled. "I misjudged you," she said, her voice halting. We all did. I'm sorry. It wasn't enough, not really, but it was a crack in the wall." Malik nodded, unsure if he could forgive but willing to try. Then came the twist no one saw coming. Ms. Ruiz, the janitor, approached Malik after school. She handed him a worn photograph of a young woman holding a violin, her smile radiant. "That's my daughter, Sophia," she said softly. "She played just like you. She was black and Latina, and they told her she'd never make it. She died before she could prove them wrong." Her eyes glistened. "You're doing what she couldn't. Keep playing, Malik." The revelation hit like a wave. Malik had never known Ms. Ruiz's story, never imagined she carried that kind of loss. It changed how he saw her, how he saw himself. He wasn't alone in this fight. Others had walked this path, their dreams silenced but not forgotten. At the talent show, Malik performed again, this time with a new piece he'd written, dedicated to his mother and Sophia. The audience, including the teachers, watched in awe. The music wasn't just beautiful, it was a bridge, a call to see beyond skin, beyond assumptions. When he finished, Ms. Ruiz stood in the back, tears streaming down her face, clapping harder than anyone. The town didn't change overnight. Prejudice lingered, whispered in corners, but Malik's music had planted a seed. He started a music club at school, teaching younger kids black, white, Latino how to play. Ms. Ruiz helped, sharing stories of Sophia to inspire them. Even Mrs. Hargrove showed up once, hesitant but curious, her presence a small step toward redemption. Malik's journey wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about proving himself right. He was more than the box they'd tried to put him in. His violin was his voice, and he'd never stop playing. What do you think? Can music break down walls of prejudice? Or is it just a start? Share your thoughts on justice and community.